Q103, Albany's rock station. We're on the line right now with Miles Joris-Peyrafitte. Is that correct? Am I saying this wrong? I had a feeling I was going to butcher this with a quickness.
No, it's not bad. Throw a little French flavor in there and you got it.
I'm Hispanic. The French is a little different to me.
Yeah. Well, you can say, No, you nailed it.
All right, thanks. We'll go with that. So Miles is not only from right here in the capital region, but he is the writer and director of a film called As You Are, which is about to make its Albany debut at the Spectrum on March 3rd. Miles, first, congratulations so much on the movie. We're really excited for this one. We've been watching the trailers for like over a year now.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, it's incredibly exciting to be able to bring it to Albany.
Not only are you from here, but you shot the movie here in Albany. Why Albany?
Well, obviously it's a movie about young people growing up, and that's where I was a young person growing up. Me and my co-writer Madison grew up in Albany together, and, when it was time to make our first feature, we knew that given our age, we wanted to make a movie about young people because we felt like we had something to offer that genre, given our proximity to the age. I think that the capital region is a kind of incredible cultural place to talk about that doesn't actually get talked about that much. So for us, it was really about bringing a story to Albany and being able to shoot it there and have kids that we grew up with be a part of it and have programs like YouthFX that we worked with when we were younger come and be a part of it, because we never saw film shooting when we lived in Albany. And that was the thing that we wanted to do more than anything else, was to be making movies since we were 6, and never knew it was really that possible because you don't really see it that often in Albany. So part of it was that we wanted to be able to do that and bring it there, and the community around really came to bat for us and opened its doors and its heart and made the experience incredible.
Oh, that's so exciting. So for our listeners who may not be super familiar, can you give us a quick rundown of the film itself?
Sure, yeah. It's called As You Are. It's about these 3 kids growing up in sort of the Albany area and surrounding area in 1994, and it's sort of about them coming to terms with who they are and the sort of love that they feel for each other as friends, and sort of the response that their parents have towards that love and the sort of limitations their parents want to put on that and the culture at large kind of want to put on that. And it's framed through this police investigation that's kind of alluding to this tragedy that happened. And sort of most of the film is through these police depositions and these flashbacks through these different characters' perspectives on the same memory of constructing what their relationship was and how they felt about each other and what that bond was really.
I've heard you speak about the film several times, and you keep talking about how it's about love and how when you were shooting, you felt like most coming of age, I do that in air quotes, but coming of age stories tends to be sort of condescending towards the children that are actually experiencing them. I feel like you guys are taking this a whole different direction as to not make that be a thing this time around.
Yeah, totally. And I think that part of that just has to do with the fact that the way movies are made, generally they're made by much older people who are much more removed from that age, who maybe see that age as a transitional period that they had to go through that was difficult, but it doesn't live inside of that experience as much. And for us, what we were interested in doing is taking all of the emotional complexity and intensity that comes along with being a 16-year-old or 15-year-old and really living inside of that and not trying to make it something that was, they're kids and they're growing up and they're going to learn these things. But really, what's that immediate truth that these people are feeling? Because, to a certain degree, at that age is kind of the most powerful and the most real. And I think that's not because they're wrong or anything like that, but it's actually because as you get older, you learn how to, you put limiters on your own experience, on your own sort of emotionality as a way to cope with living life in this world. So for us, it was really, let's take those feelings and those relationships and treat them with the intensity and the severity and the respect with which those kids would feel them in the moment, and not frame it in retrospect and not frame it in nostalgia.
Right. You had mentioned YouthFX earlier. This film is actually an extended version of your college thesis. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about how YouthFX helped you get to this point at such a young age.
Well, it's funny. YouthFX, the way it exists now, didn't exist back then. But, Madison and I, my co-writer, we went to the Albany Free School. Mm-hmm. And when we were there was a teacher, Bowen, and so there's teacher Jeff Root, who were making this documentary about the school called Free to Learn. That was around the time where we had gotten really into filmmaking, and all of a sudden there were these 2 teachers who were actually making a film, which was incredible because we didn't know that people could just do that. So they became really instrumental in giving us a space, giving us a computer that we could edit on, teaching us how to edit, giving us cameras, things like that, and really telling us, no, this is good, keep doing this, go make movies all the time. And that's what we did when we were in school. We made movies all the time, and we couldn't have done that without the support of those teachers and without the support of our friends and family. And I think that a lot of kids after that became really interested in doing it and became really interested in visual mediums in general and having that power to tell a story through images. So then that's when Ballin sort of started the program YouthFX as it is now. So that was an incredible experience of being able to have those kids who were exactly like us growing up in the same place, feeling like completely detached from the film industry, to be able to have them come in and work on the film and actually realizing like, wow, these are not just kids who want to be filmmakers. These are real filmmakers who are incredibly young, but really, really doing it to a pretty excellent level. It's hard to talk about because it was truly just so exciting and uplifting to see all these people come be a part of it.
So some of the kids from YouthFX actually worked on the film with you guys?
Yeah. A bunch were PAs, set photographers. Majestic Tillman, who we went to the free school with, played a small part in the film. There were always free school kids or YouthFX kids on set, either with jobs or just hanging out.
Oh, that's awesome. Way to give back to where you came from, you know what I mean?
Well, yeah, I think that part, look, to be honest, they were working their butts off and they were giving me a lot more than I was giving them. But it's definitely nice to be able to frame it that way for myself,
right.
For my own ego.
As your first feature film, you landed some actors that have been through some things already. I mean, you had Mary Stuart Masterson in the film. Some of the kids were already in major motion pictures. How did this all come about with your first picture?
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. I have a lot of young people ask me about how do you get a movie made? And the reality is that we got so exceedingly lucky with the people that we met and the people who got involved with the project. But basically it started off as the short that I made in college, and then I met this producer, Brent Stiefel, on a film I was acting in out in the Seattle area, and I showed him the short, and he was interested in the short, and I lied to him and told him we had the script for the feature. And then when he finally asked me to send that to him, I realized that he was serious.
Right.
And I hadn't been, and I didn't have a script. So I called Madison, who had been in the short, and basically said, hey, bud, we got to write this thing in a week. So Madison came and moved in with me, and we wrote it in a week and sent it to Brent, and he said, great, let's make this movie. At that point, I didn't understand that meant it was a real movie. I was still in the headspace of student film, so when we started to get into casting, Brent had brought on these incredible casting directors, Jessica Kelly and Rebecca Dealey, and our first conversations about it, we were talking about Sarah, and it was somebody like Amanda Stenberg would be incredible. Not thinking in a million years we could get the Amanda Stenberg in it,
right.
And then our casting director says to us, why don't you just offer her the part, dude? This is a real movie. And she did it, and that was kind of the first moment I think it dawned on any of us, oh, we're actually making a movie here,
Right.
And then the other kids was through casting, watching tapes and things like that, and Mary Stuart was someone who came in pretty late into the process, but was such an incredible gift because she'd been living upstate for a while. She had secretly been neighbors with her and didn't know. But was also somebody who, the movie takes place in the early 90s, and she was somebody who in the early 90s was this figure, was
right, yeah, big time.
Real still is, and is still incredibly beloved for those roles because of how excellent she is in them. So I think that she also had an understanding of that character that was different than other people and was willing to kind of open herself up and bring everything to it in a really beautiful, magical way. And the same thing with Scott Cohen and John Sturdy.
Oh, it's amazing. I can't wait to see this film. So not only, writing and directing, I hear you're responsible for all the music in the film as well.
When I did the short, I had done the music myself, and it wasn't very successful, but there were definitely a couple ideas that I thought were pretty good. I'm not a very good musician myself, but definitely a fan. So me and Patrick Higgins, who's a really dear friend of mine who met when I was living in Hudson, New York, we decided to do it together, and basically I came to him at the end of shooting with a few rough ideas, and together at his studio, we just, in 5 days, wrote everything and produced everything and recorded everything and mixed everything and did it. And for us, we wanted to do something different with the score, just like the intention with the film was making a movie about young people that wasn't a coming-of-age story. We wanted to make a soundtrack that didn't feel like it was, the indie movie soundtrack, that felt like it was something completely different, that felt like it was a part of the natural world there, where, you didn't know if certain sounds were existing in the actual spaces, or if they were a part of the music, or if they were in the characters' heads, or if they were kind of blurring all those lines, which is what the film is trying to do. We really wanted to match that in the music.
Oh, that sounds so awesome. You say that you're just a fan of music, but I think you had a little bit of a musical past, didn't you? Did you not play in a band at one point in time?
I did play in a band throughout college. Yeah, I did. I mean, look, I say that I'm not very musical because I'm not very good at it. It doesn't mean I don't do it a lot, you know?
Right.
But for the sake of everybody else, I would hate for them to try and find my music and then find it. It would just be tragic for them. But so, yeah, I mean, it's huge. And that was actually doing the score was one of the first times where I felt like what I wanted to do musically was really achieved. And part of that had to do with working with Patrick, and part of that also had to do with the fact that we were making music for a film that I understood very well.
Well, we're really excited to not only hear the score to the movie, but actually finally see the movie. As You Are, of course, going to be premiering at the Spectrum on March 3rd. I hear that you are going to actually be present for these screenings. Is that correct?
I'm going to be there for the premiere, yeah. I'm skipping the Los Angeles premiere to be in Albany with it.
Yeah, who needs LA when you got the capital region?
That's what I'm saying.
That's what I'm talking
about. Albany is basically the LA of the East Coast, I say.
I think so, too. I think it's better.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, Miles, thank you so much for sitting and talking with us today. We are super excited about the film. We will see you on Friday, March 3rd, the Spectrum in Albany. As You Are is the name of the film. Thank you so much again.
Thank you so much for having me on.